Hello and welcome back to a Methods of the Madness Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host Patrick. Joining me is Mitchie.
Hello.
And today we're talking about Breaking Bad Season 4, Episode 8, Hermanos. We finally get the backstory to Gus in this episode. Very important.
Yeah.
And yeah, from here on we start to really go towards Gus's side in terms of, just getting us on his side as the audience, I feel.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's go into a plot summary. Can you read that out, Mitchie?
Sure. Gus is called to meet with the police and DEA, where he is asked about his fingerprints in Gail's apartment. His record is flawless, and the investigators truly believe he is not a suspect except for Hank. Hank later asks Walter to drive him to a mineral show, but reveals en route that he is really going to Los Pollos Hermanos to plant a GPS tracking unit on Gus's car. Walter is nervous since he is already on poor terms with Gus, but is told by Gus to plant the tracker on his car. Tensions rise as Walt is unsure if Gus will murder Hank, but Mike reveals that the investigation coming from Hank is problematic because of their current war with the cartel, implying that one or the other needs to be solved.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so I think this is the first time we've happened where we get a replay of a scene from, like, earlier.
Yeah, the scene in the hospital, right?
Yeah, I thought I was on the wrong episode or something.
Yeah.
But so I guess it was just that important that they had to replay it of the scene where Walt meets Gus.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I fear for my family. And then we get a scene of Walt going in for, what is it? He says it, like the particular test that they're running on him.
Test?
Well, yeah, because Walter's at the...
Oh, right, yeah, in the hospital. Yeah.
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 Anyway, he's getting some sort of test done for his cancer.
Yeah, PET scan, right?
Yeah, and then there's that dude next to him who's, like, trying to, get some comfort from Walt.
Yeah.
Who's obviously, like, a bit more experienced than him, and then Walt just completely dismisses him, and he says something like, man plans and God laughs. And then, and then we get Walt going into a speech of, like, taking charge from the universe. Like, he goes like, oh, man, that is such bullshit, like, like, really sort of digging into his, like, man versus the world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I love this transition of how, he says, who's in charge? Me. And then it cuts to him putting on the hazmat suit.
Yeah.
In the lab. And it's just like a great use of juxtaposition to create meaning, how he talks, all this shit about, like, yeah, man, like, I'm taking charge of my life, but what he's doing with his life is, like, making meth. And I really like how in that scene in the hospital, there's this inspirational poster on the wall, like, was it like, it's like birds or something, and it's like, yeah, man, you got to stick together and be optimistic. And I feel like, that's a facile sort of mantra, similarly like how Walt is, spouting all this rhetoric about, like, taking charge of his life when all he's using it to do is pretty much create bad in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that.
I also like that he's kind of, when it cuts to that shot of him in the lab, he doesn't look very happy. Like, he looks like he's forced to be there, which to some degree he is, right, by Gus and his terms. And it just kind of makes you think about, like, all of us when we go to work, like, a lot of us are just forced to kind of work really without really wanting to or enjoying it so much. Hell
yeah, brother. Oh yeah, and then so it transitions from Walt to Gus. I love how it does this, like the filmmaking here. So it's like a close-up shot of Walt's face in the hospital, and then it match cuts to him at the lab.
Yeah.
And then he looks up at the camera, and then we see the security camera footage through Gus's laptop of Walt, and then it pans to Gus, and then from there on we follow Gus.
Yeah.
And it's just so seamless. Like, oh man, it got me so giddy. It's like, because if I wasn't actively looking out for it, I would just sort of, that would trick me. I'd be like, whoa, how did we get here?
Mm-hmm. And also another thing that I thought was good was we haven't really seen Walt go to the hospital in a while, right? Like, not this season at all. Probably not even last season. It's been like season 2 or something since he's gotten like a scan at a hospital. Like, the whole cancer storyline has kind of, disappeared for a little while. So for me, as soon as I saw him in the hospital patient clothes, that dress that they wear, and it just gave me flashbacks of, like, season 2, because that's when it mostly happened. But his character is so different. Back then he had no idea what he was doing, and he was very unconfident, and then this time he's just telling this other dude to take charge of his life and stuff. And I thought it was just an interesting comparison, because we're put in the same, like, scene but with a completely different person.
Yeah, no, you're right. The cancer isn't even on his mind at this point.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he's almost
it's
like
great.
accepting death could happen at any moment.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's in his life right now, there's far more deadly things happening than the cancer.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then we get Gus's scene where he's being interviewed by Hank Gomez and the other dude. I forget his name, but like the ASAC person.
Yeah. I don't know.
And his alibi and his explanation are just top notch, like watertight. I feel, except for Hank's little thing at the end where he's like, "Well, why wouldn't he call us?" In fact, yeah, like everyone buys it except Hank, obviously, because Hank is paranoid as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as well as his acting, Gus, everyone in this show is a top-notch actor, apparently. Okay, yeah, and then what's interesting is, Hank says, okay, so we couldn't find any records of you from Chile, because that's where Gus is from. And he goes, yeah, so Chile in the time Gus was there was under the dictatorial rule of Augusto Jose Ramon Pinochet. Is that how you spell it? Say it?
I'm not really
Pinochet?
sure.
Yeah.
I don't really know about
right.
that. Yeah.
That kind of sounds French, actually. Pinochet. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he was he was a Chilean dictator and a general who ruled from 1973 to 1990. And this is important, especially for the coming episodes, because I think there's a lot that's unsaid about Gus that's relating to the dictator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we'll get to that, but anyway, just leave that in the back pocket for now. Yeah, and then just one more thing about that scene. I also love how reasonable the discussion is that the DEA agents have after Gus leaves. Like, the head guy says, like, yeah, I'll admit to a certain amount of bias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're professional.
They are. They're very professional, and I really liked that conversation. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that scene?
Yeah, no, just Gus being Gus, like you just love him for being so cool with the way he deals with. Like, when did he even think of this story? Like, did he always have this alibi kind of story sitting in the back of his mind, or did he only think of it like 10 minutes beforehand when he saw that Hank was in the room there while he was waiting outside? It's interesting. You just never know. And I just like the way he sits at the table. He has his hands in front of him, like both his hands, like, displayed on the table. And just like such a picture of kind of, I don't know, like pretending innocence, because, he's got his hands out like, I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm here to be a good person, do the right thing. I'm completely innocent, and it kind of carries over that, carries through the acting that he's putting on.
Yeah, I love how when they bring up his fingerprints, he puts on this like little emotional story of fuck, they found out, but I'm still innocent, and like he sort of admits to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's very believable.
It 100% is, yeah.
And then yeah, I don't think it's in the summary, but Saul goes to Andrea's place because Jesse's still supporting her, and then I just love this little shot of, well, first of all, Saul talking to Brock about
chasing little girls around with sticks.
Yeah. And then it cuts back to him and he's like, yeah, and then she moved away and she never gave me a reason. And then there's that elderly neighbor outside sussing out Huel, which was really funny. And then he seems to go to talk to Andrea, so he's finally reconnecting with her, which is nice. Yeah. And then so Hank gets Walter to drive him to supposedly a mineral show, which is fake. Walt and Hank apparently like collecting minerals. These two have a lot more in common than we initially seem. Yeah. And then Hank telling Walter his suspicions is hilarious because all of a sudden Walt is a terrible actor.
Yeah.
Like he's acting so sus. I don't know what Hank is thinking, but like.
Yeah, because he seems he just changes so much.
Yeah.
It is suspicious, but I guess to Hank, he just never would think of anything else other than Walt just being an awkward cunt, because he's always an awkward cunt.
Yeah.
I also like how deliberately Hank, obviously deliberately from the show writer's perspective, but Hank tells Walter that the reason why he's pursuing this is because Walt told him, that Gail Bedecker may not be the head henchman and that kind of thing. And then Walt realizes that this is because of him. The investigation continued because of him.
Yeah, he certainly fucked up.
Yeah, he did. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Later, Walter warns Jesse about Hank's investigation and again urges him to kill Gus. While at Jesse's house, Walter intercepts a text message meant for Jesse and it suspects that Jesse is becoming loyal to Gus. During a scene set just after the Salamanca twins were killed, Gus sees Hector in his nursing home. A flashback to several decades prior in Mexico shows Gus and his close friend Max meeting with Hector, Bolsa, and their boss, Don Eladio. Gus and Max pitch their meth scheme to Eladio in hopes of going into business with the cartel, although Eladio... Is it Eladio? I don't fucking know.
Don Eladio.
Although Eladio likes the idea, he feels Gus has disrespected him by giving meth samples to Eladio's henchmen in order to manipulate him into a meeting. Before Gus can explain, Hector murders Max in cold blood and forces Gus to watch. In the present day, Gus tells Hector to look him in the eyes, but Hector refuses.
Oh, I love... My favorite type of story, Mitchie, is revenge stories.
Really?
I don't know what that says about me as a person, but I fucking love revenge stories.
Yeah, when it feels well deserved, sure.
Yeah,
it's
well,
good.
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, obviously that's what makes a revenge story. That's why my favorite Tarantino film is Django. That's why I love Berserk. I don't know, man. Getting revenge on someone is just the sweetest thing in
Django's
life.
revenge is like called for. You know, like it fully makes sense.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But like, and certainly it does in this case too. But both the people in it, both sides are like, you know, they're not very nice people, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you said at the start of the episode that we're meant to feel more for Gus, right? Or at least be on his side. And it's pretty hard
in comparison
not
to the cartel.
in comparison to Cartel, sure, but and it's pretty hard not to feel sorry for him because it seems pretty brutal. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm still skeptical about Gus. You know, like I still think he's a bit of a villain.
Well, yeah, obviously. Sorry, like I don't mean to, you know, like dismiss that, but I'm just saying like that's what makes it nuanced, right? Like obviously, you know, we see Gus do terrible things, but you got to keep that in your mind when you watch this as well. Like, I don't know, it's what makes it complicated. It's what makes it such a good show.
Exactly, like the whole show is about like driving people to do the wrong thing. And there aren't many people in this show that are like inherently just wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like I think the only exception for that is old mate at the end, the redhead dude. What's his name? You know,
Todd.
Todd, yeah, that guy's guy's fucked, and you know,
just pure evil.
Yeah. But like Gus, you know, we've got this backstory, and that's why he's like this, right? That's why he's so brutal now because of what happened to him, and even like people like Chuko, like there's that scene where Hector is like trying to teach him a lesson and almost drowns Chuko's brother or something.
No, that was the twins.
Oh, was it the twins? Okay, well the twins
Yeah.
then even like, you know, and but then you can see also by extension that Chuko was probably treated the same, and that's why they're like that. You know, it's like this carry-on effect of like the cartel are bad, but how long have they been bad for generations, and they just keep teaching their children like this, and they keep being raised the same. You know. Yeah.
No, for sure. In relation to this scene, do you notice how Hector has this look about him throughout the meeting? He keeps like...
Yeah.
It keeps panning back to him, and he keeps like... He has this look as if... Because, you know, I think the implication is that they were always planning to do this, right? They plan to sort of like talk as if they were going to kill Gus and then actually kill... what's that other guy's name? Max, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's a really tense scene. And I like how it's implied, you know, heavily implied that Gus is a gay man and that him and Max are in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was really tastefully done. They never outright say it, but it's very, you know, it's there.
Yeah. No, it's really clever.
Yeah. And then Don Eladio says to Gus, "The only reason you're still alive is because I know who you are." Now, what do you think that means?
I don't know. I never really thought about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really stood out to me this time because, I didn't know either. I was like, what could that possibly mean? I did a bit of research. And so people on the internet speculate that, you know, as we've said earlier, Gus, there's no records of Gus in Chile. People think Gus has some sort of connection to Pinochet in Chile. So either Gus was some sort of like general or something in Pinochet's army, or maybe Gus's father was. Either way, the reason Don Eladio doesn't want to kill Gus is because it would create conflict with Pinochet. And, you know, that's just sort of, you know, that maybe he wouldn't find out, but either way, like it's a risk that he isn't willing to take.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. Like, I swear, like, it's never, like, mentioned again. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I think it does come up, like, a couple episodes later. But, yeah, like, it's such, I mean, why would he say that? The only reason you're still alive is because I know who you are.
It's kind of interesting, though, because it's such a key quote, you know, it's not, like, it's a critical sentence when he says it. We're all meant to hear it, right, and take heed. But, like, you wouldn't really draw that connection immediately whatsoever. Unless you really thought about it. What's, like, the most logical explanation immediately for the viewer, you know? Like, there isn't one.
Yeah. And, you know, the only reason that's, like, suspect is because in the same episode specifically, they mention Gus's, you know, mysterious past from Chile.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, I think that was pretty interesting. It's something I've never ever considered in my life. I mean, I didn't even know about, you know, like Chile had a dictator from those years. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this episode.
Me too.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and join us next episode.
Sorry, yeah, just one other thing. Is Gustavo Fring your real name?
Is it my real name?
I know you're a Chilean national, but there are no records of you ever living there.
Really?
I mean, records show that you immigrated to Mexico in 1986, and then a couple years later you were granted an entry visa to the United States. But there's no record of Gustavo Fring ever having existed in Chile, which I find, I don't know, strange.
If you like this series, Mitchie's going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.